All right, we're moving on to part 2 of lesson 2. We are multiplying decimals still. Okay, so if I'm looking at decimals, and I'm looking at decimal places, that's what this is called. So if I'm looking at this number, it has 2 places, 2 whole numbers there. And then if I'm looking at the decimals, this number has 3 decimal places. All right, looking at these numbers, this number has 1 decimal place, this number has 2, this number has 3. Now, if I was going to say this number, this is 3/10, and I can write this as a fraction. Exactly how it sounds, that's 3/10. This number here is 3/100, and this number here is 3 thousandths. So when I'm looking at these numbers here that have whole numbers attached to them, I can write this still as a decimal fraction. So I know that this has 2 decimal places, so that means that this is going to have 2 zeros in its fraction form in its denominator. So this is 12 hundredths, so that would be hundredths in the denominator, and I can write this all like this. So 512 hundredths. If I was going to write this number as a decimal fraction, I look at how many decimal places I have. I have 3 decimal places. This number would be said as 5 127 thousandths. So this is written as 5 124 thousandths as a fraction. All right, so what you're going to do now is you're going to look on your worksheet and you're going to see this chart. And what I would like for you to do is fill it out exactly how it's filled out here. So right here I have 21 hundredths. How many decimal places does it have? It has 2. What would the decimal fraction be? So it has 2 places in its denominator, right? And so this would be hundredths, so it would be 21 hundredths. And then you name how many zeros are in the denominator. As you're doing this, I want you to think about what are some patterns that you notice, okay? And then why do these patterns hold? Okay, so make sure you pause this video and go and complete that chart and come back. All right, now that the chart is completed, one of the things I'm hoping that you notice is the number of thousandths is given by the 3rd decimal place after the decimal point, right? Like right here. That's the number of thousandths there. So if the denominator of a decimal fraction is 1,000, it has 3 zeros. So if I have 3 decimal places here, I know that I'm going to have 3 zeros in my denominator. So that's one of the patterns that I was really hoping you would get out of this. Then the decimal has, those 3 decimal places. So for example, if I have 52 thousandths, it's going to have 3 decimal places there. So how would we write that? The 52, the last 2 numbers, need to be touching the thousandths place. So I know that I have those 3 zeros there. Another way to look at this is that adding a decimal place divides the value of the decimal by 10. So if I had 52 100ths and then I divide by 1,000, it is adding a 0 to that denominator, making it smaller because I'm dividing it, right? So that number would become 52 thousandths, and I can write it as a decimal this way. 52 hundredths divided by 10, and it's going to be 52 thousandths, so that 0 gets added there. Okay, so what I want you to do right now is either in your mind or if you can do it mentally, that's great. If you want to write it down, this is great. But I just want you to pause the video and I want you to finish this section. All right, so what is a short way that you found the answers to these problems? So I'm hoping as you went through, okay, notice how fast I can do these problems, right? I'm hoping that you noticed that all you had to do was count the zeros and put them in your answer there. Okay, so you write the number of zeros for each of the factors in the answers. So then to multiply a whole number by 10, you add the zeros to it. So to multiply 10 by 1,000, okay, there's that 10, then there's the 3 zeros there, right? And it becomes 10,000. Similarly, to multiply by 100, you just add those 2 zeros. So 100 multiplied by 1,000, I'm going to add those 2 zeros there, and that's the answer. Okay, so it becomes 100,000. We are simply adding the number of zeros in the first factor to the number of zeros already there in the second factor. All right, so I'm just going to get you to pause here and go and finish the rest of your work for this section.